Borrowed knowledge versus learned knowledge. Why experience matters. In this video, I'm going to explain the difference between when we borrow knowledge from somebody else and when we learn it ourselves, and why both are so important, not only to a project site, but a construction company, and how we can leverage both. If you're interested in that, please stay with us on this video. Okay, so I am super committed to this video, and I'm really excited to share it with you. One of the things that I've really struggled with after getting back from Japan is it's been about 14 years since I started my lean journey with reading Paul Akers' book, 2 Second Lean. And it's really interesting to see how that book has affected my work. And then I come full circle and see that it's basically its roots in Japanese lean culture. And I'm sure other parts of the world as well. And also originating a lot from other countries post-World War II. But the bottom line is the concept of borrowed knowledge is not lost on the Japanese people. So when I've gotten back from Japan, people are, oh my gosh, Jason won't shut up about Japan. I was in a training the other day. I was like, there are some lean concepts that I was like really excited to share with the group. And I was like, remember, we build people before we build things, or see as a group, know as a group, and act as a group, or meiwaku, don't be a burden on others. And I said something like, in Japan, somebody snarkily in the background was like, well, we're not Japanese or whatever. And my brain in trainings, when we do the Super PM boot camp or the Foreman boot camps or Field Engineer boot camps or anything that we're doing, I have a little bit of emotional immaturity and don't sometimes know how to do that. So Brandon Montero, who teaches the Super PM boot camps with me, and Kevin Rice, who teaches the Foreman boot camps with me, and he invented that boot camp actually. And with Field Engineer boot camps and the like, I always have somebody with me who is emotionally mature. So when somebody does that, I don't know why I'm going off on this tangent, but it's relevant to the story. Instead of me like freaking out and going like crazy on this person and like being immature, my brain will just shut down. I'm like, Kevin, will you please help me out? And so Kevin pulled it back and said something really neat that won him over to the point where that individual later apologized and was like, you know what, I understand what you guys are doing. And here's the concept. It's borrowed knowledge. When we were in Japan, they mentioned every single thing they learned from somebody else, they credited them with that thing. They didn't say, we invented it, it's ours. They weren't arrogant about it. They were like, this is borrowed knowledge. This is something we have developed. This is learned knowledge, but that is borrowed knowledge. And one of the things that I'm really afraid of, I'm really freaked out about North America, Canada, United States, and Mexico, and other countries, and especially in the United States, is that we're willing to learn from learned knowledge, but we're not so big on the borrowed knowledge, because in our mind, and I'm not being too critical, I'm just saying this is kind of the way it is, we're very nationalistic, very prideful. We think that the United States is the center of the entire world. And when you travel around the world, you're like, oh my gosh, like this, you go to Japan or Korea or Singapore or Germany, or like you go to these other places, you're like, oh my gosh, they've got this figured out. And then you realize these cities are beautiful. These governments are really nicely working. Like their tech is amazing. And you realize that we are one global team, or we should be, and we should be willing to obtain borrowed knowledge. And here's why this is important in construction. Number one, and I've been critical of this my whole life, is construction companies like, oh, this is proprietary, this is proprietary, this is proprietary, and everybody's hiding everything, so we have to invent everything from scratch. No, we should share, and we should be more willing to cooperate and leverage borrowed knowledge. And if I go to Japan, Kevin Rice and Jason Schroeder coming back shouldn't be given the Heisman, right? We should be like, oh, you went there? Oh, wow, well, I'll loop that in. Because essentially, if we're like, and I'm not being too critical about this, but if we're like, oh, that's from Japan, I'm not gonna learn that. What are we saying? Are we saying that we're not as good, or that we don't care, or that we don't wanna be awesome? What are we really saying? If we leverage borrowed knowledge, then that means that we're doing the smart thing. Here's the saying. You can learn from wisdom or sad experience. When you learn from wisdom, that's borrowed knowledge or intentional internal learning. Learn knowledge, right? If you're learning from sad experience, that means we're failing, disaster oh, I might as well do something better. The smart person in that scenario will be like, I'm not going to make that same mistake. I'm going to see that mistake and not do that. I'm going to not do that. Oh, that works right there. I'm going to do that. If we started to see borrowed knowledge in construction, number one, our industry would learn from other industries. And there's plenty out there, believe me. In Europe, we're learning a whole lot about TAC planning and production planning. From Japan, we're learning a whole lot about lean, and we're remembering things that we have taught in the first place. As a construction company, we will be sharing and learning. And why don't we see more partnerships with construction companies where it's like, let's form a strategic partnership where we walk your jobs, you walk ours, and you look at our business systems and our financials, and we look at yours. Sorry, I got that a little bit mixed up. And we're learning from each other, elevating. Because the most of the time, nobody's like, oh, I just won that proposal because of this secret spreadsheet that I had. It's always about the team and the culture. So there's no reason to hide it anyway. We need to be sharing and elevating the industry because we need to focus less on companies and more on the people. And if we focus on the people, we will be sharing more. And we set an example for that at Elevate and Lean Tech. We do a good job. Everything we can, we share for free, which is pretty much everything except for our time. The other thing is you would start to see superintendents and PMs touring other projects as a habit. Every month as a super, tour another job, even if you have to fly there. They're farther ahead. They had a curtain wall problem. They solved the elevators. Or they're in this local area and they know what the workforce is like. Tour. And then on a job site, borrowed knowledge would be crews learning from other crews. We've got to get rid of these toxic things. The toxic ideas are, we're in competition, we can't share. That's not true. I run my own job. I don't need to walk somebody else's job. I don't want somebody to walk my job. Totally toxic. We got to get away from that and start touring jobs. Or I don't need any information. I've been doing this the same way for 30 years. No, like that's absolute garbage. Or I'm not going to create a video. What kind of blah, blah, blah. No. Videos, pictures, sharing, helping each other. And we've got to get rid of this concept that a super can do whatever they want and that trades can do whatever they want. They were like, oh, the trade partners don't work for us. I can't have any say. If they're on the same job site, we work together and we share together and we rise together. We're only as good as the slowest or the most ineffective crew or entity on the project site, so we should elevate together. This concept of learned knowledge is great. We're learning all the time. But borrowed knowledge means we can learn from wisdom and not sad experience. So this is a lean concept that we would do well to adopt, and it will skyrocket our performance. I'm going to turn this into a blog post and encourage you to please check out Paul Akers' work. He is the king of borrowed knowledge. And the question that I have for you is, how can the industry, companies, and individuals and crews on a job site start to leverage this borrowed knowledge concept more on the day-to-day? If we did that, things would get remarkable. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.